Hi, class. Today I'm going to read chapter 12 from Hero. Last time we did or practiced a strategy called visualization. And the time before, I asked you to ask some questions or predict what you think was going to happen in the story. This time, I'm going to ask you to use a different strategy during this read aloud. And that strategy is called making connections. Good readers do this all the time without even thinking about it. And I'm sure you've already made some connections to characters in this book, whether it's Ben or Noah or Jack or even Hero or Scout. You could have made connections from your own life or from other books you've read, like Hero, or from movies you may have seen, or from just other things that have happened in the world that you know that involves dogs, like Hero. So think about those things and what kind of connections you can make to the book or a character in this chapter. Chapter 12. The next day after school, Ben spent the afternoon hauling junk out of the garage. He had a plan, a vision. It was Friday. Tryouts were over and he was all caught up on his homework at last. Ben was looking forward to spending the weekend with his dogs and this contraption. Ben stood back to admire his handiwork, hands resting on his hips. It wasn't pretty, but it should work. He had built a training course for Hero, a homemade version of the one at the police station. He had seen the joy in Hero's eyes when he was on the course, and it had occurred to Ben that maybe Hero missed his old life. Ben knew that the best police dogs have a drive that can't be taught. They're born to be trackers and rescuers. Ben didn't want Hero to get bored by his civilian life. Hero deserved to be happy, even if that meant turning their backyard into a ridiculous looking doggy amusement park. He was sure that his parents would understand. The first section of the course was a plastic tube from his sister's water slide. Hero would have to run through it. Next was an A frame ramp made from two boards leaning against a stack of old file boxes from the garage. Then there was a pile of loose gravel that Ben had poured on the grass. From there, Hero would jump onto a narrow bridge made out of a long, skinny piece of plywood and four overturned buckets. He would run across the beam and jump down onto a bouncy air mattress. Then he would have to wade through a kiddie pool full of water. After that, Ben would towel him off and give him a treat. Ben was also hoping that he and Hero could convince Scout to try the course. He was pushing Scout hard, he knew, but this could be just what he needed to overcome his nerves. Hero loved the training course. He shimmied right through the plastic tube, scrambled up the ramp, and slid down the other side, and happily tromped through the gravel. He practically flew across the beam like a trained gymnast. He danced across the air mattress, bobbing and weaving as the surface moved underneath him, then flung himself into the water with a giant splash. When he was done, he ran back to the beginning, his tail wagging like crazy. Ben gave him a scratch behind the ears and a treat while he dried him off. Scout's first trip through the homemade course, however, was a disaster. He wouldn't set one paw into the tube. Hero had to go in after him and push him through to the other side. Scout climbed up the first half of the ramp, plopped onto his belly at the top, and rested his head onto his paws. Hero had to nudge him up and over that too. When Scout got to the gravel, he put one paw down and instantly jumped backward, yelping. Ben squatted down and scratched Scout under the chin. Hero walked back and forth across the gravel pile, showing Scout that there was nothing to be afraid of. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a dog I used to have. Her name was Rudy. And when we'd go walking in the fall around the neighborhood, she did not like the leaves that were there. And so she would do everything she could on the sidewalk to avoid the leaves. She would doot, 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 only in the empty spaces. Another thing is that I had a dog named Ozzy, and when we first moved to this house with the wood floors, Ozzy would not walk on the wood floors. So we had to put little carpets down the hallway so that he would actually walk down the hallway. That sounds kind of like what Scout is feeling like here, too. It's okay, buddy. It's just rocks, Ben said. He scooped up a few and let them pour slowly from his palm. The loose stones clattered back onto the pile. Scout stepped forward and sniffed at them. Scout, go, Ben said, using the hand signal. Scout took one tentative step as the rocks slipped and shifted beneath him. He took another step. Slowly, he made his way forward, finally leaping up onto the wooden bridge. He pranced across it quickly, Hero running by his side. "Atta boy," Ben encouraged him. "Scout, jump." Gaining courage, Scout jumped, caught a little air, and landed on the air mattress. He immediately bounced onto his back, all four paws in the air. "Come on, Scout, up," Ben said, motioning with his hand. With some effort, Scout rolled back onto his stomach and got up. He made his way slowly and carefully across as Hero and Ben walked alongside. When Scout got to the end of the mattress, he spied the water in the small plastic pool. Without hesitation, Scout jumped into it with a splash. Yes! Ben pumped both arms into the air in triumph. Scout hopped out of the pool and shook off the water, showering Ben and Hero with droplets. "Good job, Scout," Ben said, toweling off the puppy and giving him a treat. Hero let out a few happy barks and lapped up some of the pool water. Ben was so proud of Scout that he picked him up and squeezed him in a hug. Scout licked Ben's face and wagged his tail. The dogs took turns going through the course until it was starting to get dark. Ben decided it was time to implement stage 2. He wanted to keep Hero's training as real as possible, and it was pretty clear, after Scout's reaction to the police sirens, that the puppy needed to work on keeping his cool under pressure. Ben had scavenged a scrap of sheet metal from the garage. He was going to hold it up in the air and shake it so it made a really loud noise while the dogs ran the course. Ben bent over to pick up the metal from the ground. As he did, his phone fell out of his back pocket and landed on the grass. It flashed with 6 missed calls, all from Noah. Why had he called so many times? Something nagged at Ben. Funny feeling in the back of his brain that he'd forgotten something. Ben called Noah back. "Dude," he said excitedly into the phone, "you'll never believe what the dogs are doing." Noah cut him off. "Ben, where are you?" he was yelling. "I've been calling you for 2 hours." "What are you talking about? My mom's surprise party? You were supposed to be here over an hour ago to let everyone in. Remember?" Noah's voice was filled with anger. A wave of guilt and regret washed over Ben. He felt awful. "Noah, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot. Everyone was just standing on the front lawn when we pulled up with my mom. You were supposed to let them inside so they could set up the party, Ben. But nothing was ready. Seriously lame, dude." "Noah, I'm so sorry," Ben began, but Noah had already hung up on him. Ben put his face in his hands. It was like he couldn't do anything right. Or he could do one thing right, but only if he messed up 5 other things he was supposed to be doing at the same time. "Hero! Scout! Come!" Ben called out. Both dogs ran over to him and stood by his side. "Sorry, guys, but I have to go. Scout, in your crate." Ben moved Scout's cage onto the back patio. It would be too cold for the puppy to sleep out there, but he'd be okay for a couple of hours. Ben closed the small metal door and made sure to secure the latch. Ben looked around and spotted a long rope looped around a tree in the backyard. When Hero had first come to live with them, Ben's parents had tied him to the tree during the day so that he wouldn't wander over to Ben's school on his own. They hadn't used it in a while, but it was just what Ben needed right now. He tied the rope to Hero's harness. "Keep Scout company. Okay, Hero?" With a little grunt, Hero lay down near the crate. "I'll be back soon, guys," Ben said. I have a bad feeling about this. I feel like something's going to happen to the dogs. Do you feel like that too? It's just like this sense that something's going to go wrong. think the author is doing a really good job of making us think that with all of the crazy things that are happening. Chapter 13 is next, and I think he's probably going to try to make it up to Noah in some way for forgetting to let the people into the house. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. Okay, next time, chapter 13.